Thanks. I don't really have anything else to say. That you've pretty much summed it up, but here's some work. Yeah, so thanks very much. So I'm Dom from London, and I've been using AI pretty much every day since the middle of 2021, but my relationship with AI starts way before then, in like 1991, with a chatbot, a precursor to ChatGPT, if you will, that I'll show you quickly. This thing is a therapist called Dr. Spatzo, and well, you can see how far things have come. I'm on stage and need advice.
I'm not here to fulfill your need for advice.
Okay, thanks very much, Dr. Spatzo. I've always had an interest in AI and messing around with computers and kind of entering into feedback loops with non-organic kind of intelligences or things that trick you into thinking they're intelligent. I just think it's a really interesting area. These are some of the things that I was into as a child, like very basic AI, animals and stuff. And then fast forward a couple of decades, and this thing comes out, which I think some of you have seen, because I've just been told that it was taught here before it was taught anywhere else in Germany, which is very cool. VQGAN, which is really the moment that AI image generation became viable for people that weren't really into coding. And a friend of mine sent me this on the 19th of July, 2021, and I haven't really slept since, so screw that guy. I'll show you a few early examples. It's really good at making absurd stuff, which I sometimes miss in kind of newer, cleaner methods. This is based on a dream I had about UK MP John Prescott dancing at a castle made of clouds. There's John. I'm sure you will remember John Prescott, the 1990s British politician. So it's good at that kind of grotesque, weird stuff, but there's also some real beauty to be found there, and it's kind of, I find it a bit sad that we've skipped over a lot of these earlier methods so quickly in the search for definition. short one. Up. So yeah, up until the first Corona lockdown, my career revolved around music and sound design. And then in lockdown, basically all of my work went up in smoke. And I had nothing to do, so I got really heavily into Blender, the open source 3D program. And then a year later, the VQCAN notebook dropped. And shortly after that, a friend of mine commissioned me to make a music video for his project. And this uses, what I'm going to play next, uses VQGAN and Clip with motion controlled by EbSynth or EBSynth, which I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It just does optical flow. So it's pixel prediction. You give it a frame, you give it an image, and then you give it a video with which to push that image around. If you know data moshing, it's kind of like data moshing, but cleaner and less glitchy. I'll just play a little bit of this one. So this is the end of 2021, if it wants to move. Yeah, there we go. I try, but I can't get in. I'm falling. It's all these messy VQGAN images being pushed around with optical flow. It's no use, I've been told, but I'm still gonna just give it a go. And it's very unprofessional and stuff, but already I was amazed at what could be done because the footage that this guy sent me was so bad. It was just terribly lit, like he had no idea what he was doing. I didn't really either, to be honest, but you know, it really opened my eyes to what you can do with not great inputs if you mess around with them enough. All right, and then, so at this time in my life, I was spending a lot of time on Discord channels revolving around this stuff, and there was really only a few hundred people involved, and it was this lovely, geeky little circle of people that were just excited to make something that looked vaguely like a face or vaguely like a landscape. And then Jax came along, which took about 45 minutes to make one tiny 256 by 256 pixel image, but they looked really cool. So this stuff here is originally it's stuff made in Blender, like very simple kind of 3D shapes and colors that I then fed into Jax and prompted, and then these came out, and this was some of the first still images I made that I found like genuinely quite beautiful, and I thought they had something to them. Now you see like a Blender input, just really simple textured triangle, and then pretty stuff. Loads of them. I was absolutely obsessed at this time. Yeah, so Blender, kind of stepping back a bit, Blender's an amazing open source piece of software. You can just do so much in it. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. It's just incredible. Like there's this whole world of possibilities, and there's an amazing community around it, and you can kind of learn anything. You can make full films, full 3D films. Yeah. And this is some of the work I was doing in Blender at the time, based a lot around kind of maths and nature and trying to get complexity out of quite simple things because I'm very lazy. Right, and then disco diffusion came along. I'm skipping over some methods. I'm just giving you my favorites. So disco came along. The quality's getting better. Rendering's getting quicker. You still have to wait for a long time, particularly for animations, but it's getting there. And then a nice fella by the name of Alex put out a collab notebook that integrated optical flow into disco diffusion. So that led to being able to do stuff like this. That's me dancing, by the way. Thank you for the single clap. I appreciate that. That was nice. Oh, this is some more disco warp stuff. So this is a Blender input going through disco. I still really love the way disco looks. Like all of these methods just have, you know, a different flavor to them, which I really love. Another bit of software you guys should know about if you don't is Visions of Chaos, which sounds like a death metal band, but it's just like some Australian guy making some cool software. So it's a really simple GUI, and it brings together loads and loads of just cool creative algorithms, lots of nature-based stuff, like Game of Life and Cellular Automata and stuff like that. And he's integrated like every AI workflow, every open source AI workflow imaginable in there as well. Really recommend it. So this music video, I was approached by a band to do a video for them, and it's made with Blender, lots of Visions of Chaos simulation stuff, and then disco diffusion, and sort of probably one of the first music videos to use disco, or one of the only ones to use disco, I guess. We won't watch it all. It's a great song though. Yeah. So this is disco diffusion landscapes, but then depth maps are taken out of these landscapes. So I've analyzed them for depth maps and then put those into Blender and retextured them with gold. Yeah, I guess in general I'm a big fan of combining things together. I think the interesting stuff happens when you just try smushing different methods together rather than it just being like this is purely an AI thing or whatever. So we'll get you to some of the like mad Visions of Chaos simulation stuff. Ooh. This is like wild cells and stuff. It may not look like it, but that's how your brain works. That's inside your brain. Yeah, and then you can see the original disco diffusion landscapes coming through. So this would be sometime in 2022, summer, I think. More disco. This is just one single photograph put into Blender, and then using audio reactive techniques to displace the mesh in Blender and then running that through disco. This is a track, this track's like 15, 20 years old, and was one of my favorite tracks by one of my favorite artists when I was younger. And then he approached me to do a bunch of visuals, so it was just like a really nice moment towards the end of 2022. Then Stable Diffusion comes on the scene, which I guess most people here have heard of. And it's way faster, it's way more coherent, like things actually look quite a lot like the things that you prompt. Suddenly there's like tens of thousands of people using this. It's a bit hard to animate. Like if you try to animate it, it gets very flickery. But luckily the same guy, Alex, who made Disco Warp Fusion, makes Stable Warp Fusion. So he brings optical flow in. There's also Dream Booth, which you can use to fine tune or train your own models. So things that the AI doesn't know about, you can now for instance, take 20 photographs of yourself or of a style of art or a building or whatever, and you can train that into the AI. That would later become way easier with things like LoRa's and IP adapters. But yeah, the community just makes so much incredible stuff all the time, and I love that there's just thousands of people around the world working on this, you know, from their own passion without getting paid to just make cool stuff in the world. So here's a few little bits made with stable warp fusion. This was the first thing of mine that ever went viral on Instagram. So this, I think, got about 2 million views and kind of brought me out of obscurity. I think these techniques work so well with music because although all of this movement and morphing can be distracting on its own, when you put it together with music, you can make movement and sound that feel right together, and I think there's so many beautiful possibilities there. A little side note, you might notice that a lot of my work is quite influenced by Renaissance and Northern Renaissance art. I really don't believe in stealing from living artists. This technology can be used so easily for nefarious means and for stealing people's style and their faces without consent. And I think it's really sad that people are doing so much of that when there's art history to draw on, and there's this whole new landscape of aesthetics that's opened up through the possibilities of this. So I'm not for just like ripping people off. And another thing I like is the stuff that it does badly. So famously, it's bad at doing hands. Oop. And this is bad at playing the right video. There you go. So I've always been really interested in dreams and the nature of thought itself. And something I like about these generation methods is that it sometimes feels like a kind of half-formed thought. Like it's the idea of a hand rather than any specific hand. It's just this, exists in this place where you know what it is, you know what it alludes to, but it's non-specific. And I think that's really interesting. Like, in a story, does it matter? Was that the big dramatic moment? I'm going to break out into song now. Sorry, guys. Yeah, does it matter which, does it matter which policeman it is or, which, whatever, like, there's something kind of archetypal about these methods, which I find really interesting. So this was then September 2022. I did a project with a wonderful singer called Avadni, which I believe was the first fully stable diffusion AV show anywhere in the world. I might be corrected, but I'm pretty sure it was. We had like this huge gauze in front of the stage, which was transparent, so I could project onto it and he could interact with elements. What's this? Oh, this is just a little clip from it. Oh, no sound, so. Louder, louder. Yeah. So that one was with a Blender input, and then this is with Darren the performer, filmed and then turned into anthropomorphic flowers. And then that, I'll give you a little bit of how it ended up.
Make
I realized I'm rambling, so I'll try and go quickly. This was then more stuff with Clark. Again, fully stable diffusion, just like starting to break out into bigger contexts, starting to be, yeah, just brought into less niche spaces, basically. So that's my friend Tom by a lake, Leibniz. So another thing that I think is worth thinking about with AI is making this stuff personal, not just accepting the kind of presets and not just prompting. So this is a project where I took a load of my film photography. Like, I've carried a camera that my mother gave me since I was 12, and she passed away a long time ago, so it's like, it has lots of sentimental value, basically. So I love doing stuff with that camera and then bringing it into other worlds. So this initially was a Blender thing. But then I used the same technique along with layer of stable diffusion. So this all started pretty much the same as the one before. It's just photographs mapped onto 3D.
I'll be all laid to rest in my proper place, into the roots of an old oak tree, where life can move freely in and out of me. There's stuff coming out and stuff going in. I'm just a part of everything.
Moving quickly, this is some work I've done where I'm integrating into other people's work, so working with really good editors, really good directors, and just complementing it with the AI, and therefore going a lot more specific with what shots are needed. And this video and another video that we did for the same artist with the same team have done like super well. Like, they've been winning tons of awards. And yeah, it's like I've had a lot of people reach out because of these videos. They obviously kind of did the rounds in the industry, and people saw what was possible.
More, everything. Tequila, reefer, head spinning like a Caesar. Dealing ether out to a couple of beautiful creatures. Cracking on, shoeless pack is gone. Couple of freebies and a cheeky kiss on the...
I'll just show you a little bit of this. This is, again, an artist that I really love who sent me an email when I was having a bad day saying, "Oh, I love your work. Do you want to do a video?" So cheered me up a lot. She's a really, really lovely person, Jessie Lanza. So this relied really heavily on using Dream Booth and training Jessie into, well, making a fine-tuned model of Jessie so that I could reliably have her face in lots of different contexts. I'll skip ahead a bit. Yeah, I love this stuff that would be impossible to do anywhere else. That's kind of why I'm so drawn to this stuff. There's another one with her, but I'm running out of time. Oh yeah, so quickly, another really fun open source model is ModelScope, which is text to video. None of the other ones have been text to video. I've controlled the motion myself, but with model scope, it's more similar to things like Gen 2, which you might have seen, or Pika, where you type in and then it gives you video. In this case, I've actually then run the output through Stable Diffusion to add more kind of details. So this is model scope and then run through Warp Fusion. Again, it's just like beautifully wrong model scope, and the commercial companies obviously want to kind of get to coherence as quickly as possible, but I love the horrible stuff. This is pure model scope.
Synergize. The shoe. Beyond the rainbow. Vibe. Time to give it.
I just think it's lovely. So Comfy UI is a really, really great interface for using Stable Diffusion. It's node-based, has a really deep community. People are constantly making new things. So, it's a lot like Blender in a way. You end up in these crazy like noodle messes, but it's so customizable. And I think if you really want to make your own mark with these technologies, you need to use things that are customizable. So Animate Diff came along, which is another animation method that you can run video through. And it's less flickery and morphy than Warp Fusion, but it does lack a bit of detail. Here's a few recent things with that. Oh, that cut off early. Anyway, I think I'm running out of time, so I'll just quickly move on to, if I seem tired and flustered, it's because I am. Like the last 2 months, I've been working all day, every day to do a big project for this club in Ibiza called Pacha. I've done like hundreds and hundreds of clips. They've got, 120 screens in there or something, like big 8K screens made out of 42 hexagons and stuff. So I was actually meant to be in Ibiza last night for the opening party, but I'm too old to go there and do that and then come here. So I cancelled that and I'm here with you guys. Yeah, Crayfeld, come on. But I went for rehearsals last week. I'll just show you a few little clips. So this is done. That's just me lurching over my camera phone that I put on the floor. And again, I love that you can do stuff so kind of easily and without thinking about it so much. Some pictures from inside. And then this, because the opening party was last night, I literally went on Instagram on the train journey here, just grabbed a few bits from someone. Sorry. Anyway, you get the point. People are having a lovely time, and there's AI visuals. Open source, it's good, by the people, for the people. I think the main thing is the only incentives are to make cool stuff. I think a lot of the problems in the world are because of bad incentives, and people are very incentivized towards greed. So I love that this kind of stuff exists, and it's just for the sake of doing things that you love and making cool stuff. Yeah, and you can learn, like, form communities. You don't need money. You don't need expensive subscriptions. Yeah, it's great. I guess, do I have time for another video? This one's like just bonkers. This will be the last one. This is mostly animate diff with a few other things. And it's currently being shown in Budapest in some place.